Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking into a really difficult case, one that tragically shifted how UK police approach certain kinds of crime. We're talking about the disappearance and murder of 7-year-old Mark Tildesley in Wokingham back in 1984.
It's a case that starts with this, well, baffling silence for years and then suddenly breaks open. But even then, the ending, it's chilling because the justice feels so incomplete.
Absolutely. And our sources really trace that whole arc. From the initial mystery, the investigation, the breakthrough with this notorious gang, and then this outcome that leaves so many questions.
And it's devastating because it shines a light on, well, the limitations of policing back in the 80s, especially against organized predatory criminals. You see this local chaos potentially letting a national network just slip through.
Yeah, causing years of agony for the family. Let's start with Mark himself. He was just 7, a year 3 pupil, lived in Rose Court.
And he was really set on going to this fun fair, the Frank Ayers Fun Fair. It makes the whole thing even more, well, calculated and horrific.
He only got 30p pocket money a week, apparently.
Right. So he'd been saving up, returning Tesco trolleys for the 10p deposits. Just a normal kid focused on having some fun.
And June 1st, 1984, that's the day, he heads out on his bike about 5:30 p.m.
Around then, yeah. But he stops outside a sweet shop first on Denmark Street.
And this is crucial. He meets a man there.
Yes, a man who offers him 50p for sweets and, crucially, promises to pay for the dodgems at the fair. That was the lure.
That promise just pulled him in. He even met a couple of friends on the way, but they went home first.
So Mark carried on alone. He was expected back by 7:30 p.m.
When he wasn't, his parents started searching, found his bike chained up near the fun fair entrance.
Just heartbreaking. They reported him missing at 10 p.m. that night.
So the police, Thames Valley Police, TVP, they launched the search. But straight away, they're up against it, aren't they?
Oh, completely. The sources highlight this immediately. It's 1984. The miners' strike is happening.
Right, so lots of officers are deployed elsewhere.
Exactly. TVP was short-staffed. And the logistics, I mean, the incident office was literally the police station's attic storeroom.
An attic. For a major missing child case.
Yeah, and they were using the local Baptist church for meetings. It sounds chaotic. You can see how early leads might just get lost in that shuffle.
That kind of structural chaos must have had an impact, but the public response, that was huge, wasn't it?
Massive. The case was on the very first episode of Crime Watch UK, June 7th.
Wow, the premiere episode.
Yep. Generated 400 calls straight away. And then a reconstruction later, in 85, that pulled in over 1,000 calls, one of the biggest responses they'd ever had.
And what came out of those calls? Anything concrete?
Well, yes. Something quite specific and chillingly consistent. Multiple witnesses.
Okay.
They reported seeing a boy, look like Mark, being forcefully dragged away from the fairground area.
Forcefully dragged? By who?
By a man they described as a stooping man. This was seen sometime between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m.
So, hold on. They had witness descriptions of a suspect dragging a boy away around the time Mark vanished, but the initial investigation, it stalled.
It did. It's quite shocking. They even briefly suspected Mark's older brother, which was wrong. There was a fairground worker who confessed, but his story kept changing, wasn't reliable.
But the stooping man.
That lead didn't connect initially. The investigation wound down by October 1984. No charges filed relating to that sighting.
So the man seen dragging Mark away just walked free.
Effectively, yes. We know now who that was. City Cook.
The leader of the pedophile gang.
The very same. He was actually questioned back in 1984.
They questioned him and let him go.
Yes, because a fairground worker gave him an alibi. And it seems, likely because of all that chaos and lack of resources we mentioned, that alibi wasn't properly checked or vetted.
Unbelievable. That failure basically let the case go cold.
For 5 long years, the breakthrough came completely separately.
Not from TVP.
No. It came from the Metropolitan Police in London. They'd set up Operation Orchid in 1989.
Operation Orchid, what was its focus?
It was specifically looking into missing children cases, but crucially, looking for links, for patterns. They suspected organized criminal networks were involved, not just random acts.
And Orchid found a link to Mark's case.
They did. It led them directly to this gang, the Dirty Dozen, and specifically to a man named Leslie Bailey.
Okay, who is Bailey?
He was a convicted pedophile. At the time Orchid interviewed him in 1990, he was actually already charged with murdering 2 other boys.
2 other boys, Jason Swift and Barry Lewis.
That's right, 14-year-old Jason and 6-year-old Barry. And under questioning by Operation Orchid, Bailey confessed.
He confessed to being involved in Mark Tildesley's case.
Yes, he implicated the whole gang, named Sidney Cook as the leader, the stooping man, and gave these horrifying details about what happened. He called it Mark's party.
Mark's party. God, what did he say happened?
Bailey described being asked by his lover, Lenny Smith, another gang member, to drive them from Hackney down to Wokingham. Cook had a caravan near the fairground.
Near the moors, Evendon's Lane, that area?
Exactly. That's where they took Mark. Bailey said Mark was lured with that 50p offer, but he was hesitant. He said Mark was dragging back.
So they had to force him.
Yes, physically forced into Bailey's car. There were 4 men involved there, Cook, Smith, Bailey, and a relative of Bailey's they called Oddbod.
And the details of the crime itself, Bailey described those.
He did. Utterly calculated. Cook gave Mark some milk laced with a muscle relaxant.
Oh, no.
But Mark apparently only drank half. Said it tastes funny.
Just devastating.
And then the sources describe what followed over the next half hour as, well, abduction, drugging, torture, rape, and finally murder.
How was he?
By strangulation. Bailey said Lenny Smith forced a tablet into Mark's mouth, then strangled him.
This is incredibly dark, but there's a detail in Bailey's account about Cook's reaction afterwards.
Yes, that's quite chilling.
Yeah.
Bailey realized Mark was dead, but Cook apparently just claimed the child was fine, said he'd take him home.
What does that suggest?
Total control over the situation, the narrative. And more disturbingly, it strongly implies Mark was likely already dead before his parents even called the police at 10 p.m.
So Bailey's confession breaks the case open, legally speaking. What happened then?
Well, Bailey was charged with Mark's murder in October 1991, but then, about a year later, October 1992, he pleaded guilty.
To murder?
No, to a lesser charge, manslaughter, and also 1 charge of buggery. He got 2 life sentences for those.
Manslaughter, not murder. And what about the others Bailey named? Cook and Smith.
This is where it gets legally complicated and, frankly, frustrating.
Yeah.
The judge, during Bailey's sentencing, actually publicly named Cook and Smith as the perpetrators.
That's unusual, isn't it, for a judge to do that?
Highly unusual. It showed how certain the court felt about their involvement based on Bailey's detailed confession.
But they weren't charged.
No. The Crown Prosecution Service, the CPS, decided not to bring charges against Cook or Smith specifically for Mark's murder.
Why not? They had Bailey's confession. And wasn't there some physical evidence found later? Something about a key ring.
Yes, exactly. A key ring, identical to one Mark owned, was found in Sidney Cook's repossessed Jaguar back in 1985.
Yeah.
So you have the confession naming him, plus this potential physical link.
So why no charges? It seems baffling.
It comes down to rules of evidence, really. Bailey was an accomplice. His confession, legally, was seen as single-source evidence against Cook and Smith.
Even with the key ring.
The key ring was suggestive, but the CPS felt it wasn't definitive proof of murder on its own. They believed a jury might still have reasonable doubt about convicting Cook and Smith based solely on Bailey's word and that one piece of evidence.
So they took the deal with Bailey, the manslaughter plea.
Right. It secured a conviction directly linked to Mark's death. It got Bailey off the streets for good, and it officially tied the gang to the crime, even if the main players weren't charged for this specific murder. Cook was already in prison anyway for the manslaughter of Jason Swift.
It feels like such incomplete justice.
And what about the 4th man Bailey mentioned? Oddbod.
He wasn't charged either. And this, again, maybe shows how these gangs operate.
How so?
Oddbod apparently had the mental age of an 8-year-old. He was deemed unfit to stand trial or be charged. It suggests the gang might have deliberately used vulnerable individuals knowing they'd be shielded by the legal system.
It's just layer upon layer of manipulation. And the men who were involved met strange ends themselves, didn't they?
They did. Leslie Bailey, the one who confessed, didn't last long in prison. He was murdered in 1993.
Murdered? How?
Strangled by other inmates at HM Prison Whitemoor, just a year after his conviction.
How did Mark's family react to that?
His parents openly said they welcomed the news. It gives you a sense of their pain and anger.
And Lenny Smith, the man Bailey said strangled Mark.
He died later, in 2006, from AIDS, while in prison at HM Prison Nottingham. Mark's mother also publicly celebrated that news. It speaks volumes about the family's feeling that the legal system hadn't delivered full justice. But even with confessions, convictions, the deaths of these men, the core wound remains open, doesn't it? The body.
Exactly. Mark's body has never been found. That's the enduring agony.
Did Bailey say where he was buried?
No. Bailey claimed he didn't know, that Cook handled the disposal of the body.
And Cook, he's still alive.
Yes, He's still alive, in his 90s now, and still in prison. He has apparently indicated he does know where Mark's body is.
But he won't
He
say.
refuses to tell the police or the family. It seems like his final, cruel act of control over them.
Have the police searched based on Bailey's info?
Yes, they dug up the moors area where the caravan was back in 1991 after the confession, found nothing. There was hope in 2012 when a skull fragment was found, but it wasn't Mark's.
So where do police think he is now?
Thames Valley police believe his body is likely buried in a shallow grave somewhere on abandoned farmland. They've publicly stated the case remains unfinished because they haven't recovered him.
And the family has pleaded with Cook recently, haven't they?
Yes, in 2019 they made another public plea, begging him to reveal the location before he dies.
That image of the family's grief, keeping his room unchanged for years.
His mother kept his bedroom exactly as it was on the day he disappeared, right up until she moved house after his father died in 2005. It's just profound, unending grief.
There are memorials now, at least.
Yes, the community put up a jade-colored memorial bench near where the funfair entrance was, where he was last seen in public. And a headstone was erected in Wokingham in 1993, a place for remembrance, even without him resting there.
So looking back at the whole story, you see the power of something like Operation Orchid, connecting these disparate crimes.
Absolutely. It showed the need to look beyond single incidents, see the patterns of organized crime.
But it also starkly reveals the initial confusion, the resource issues, and this tragic irony of getting a confession, convictions, but still having such incomplete justice.
And it highlights how these criminal groups exploit gaps, information gaps, jurisdictional limits. The Tildesley case was solved in a legal sense, partly, but it left this huge physical gap, the missing body, because of that exploitation and silence.
It really emphasizes that context is everything in solving these cases. It wasn't immediate local work, but that later, broader view that finally broke it.
Right, and realizing these weren't isolated tragedies. The sources even mentioned this same gang being linked to other unsolved cases, like the 1981 murder of Vishal Marosha, which was reopened. It's a long, dark shadow.
Which leaves us with a really unsettling final thought, doesn't it? We know the horrific details, the perpetrators are identified, mostly dead or in prison now, yet the ultimate physical truth, Mark's final resting place, is still held captive by the silence of one aging convicted criminal.
It forces you to ask, what does justice truly mean in a situation like this? Can the legal system ever offer genuine closure when a fundamental piece of the truth, the recovery of the victim, is deliberately, perhaps vengefully, withheld?